Hi everyone, it's Rebecca from Beyond the Nest, and I wanted to talk to you about Singapore, the floral and the fauna. It's amazing. Moving to Singapore, when we came for our look-see trip, when you come out of the airport, you start immediately seeing how intentionally, but you may not realize it at the time, green this mega city is. I mean, this is a heavily populated, densely populated, small little tiny red dot on the map country. And I've been doing a little bit of traveling. We've just started. And I really have noticed how in a lot of places, greenery is secondary in these major cities. And it isn't simply just that they have a lovely large park, like in the middle of it, like you have in New York City, or little pocket parks. When you come out from the airport, you see these giant, beautiful trees, and within the trees is more greenery, because here ferns and things grow epiphytically on the trees. And I have some of the most amazing footage, and I mean, we're now, 8 months living here, cannot get over it. It's so fascinating to me. It really strikes my imagination. I start thinking I want to make a storybook out of it. It's just like it's a whole little community living in each one of these trees. But it's really striking. And then you start noticing other places. Now, they have an amazing free botanical garden. We have gone to it a couple times. I mean, that is their Central Park, and it's a World UNESCO site. It is absolutely beautiful, absolutely free to go into. And every time we go, even though you don't have change of seasons necessarily here, it's such a vast park. And if you look at the layers, you're constantly seeing something new.
Wow. That must have been one heck of a bloom.
One heck of a what?
Bloom to make all them baby bananas.
Yeah.
Goodness. And if they ripen, that's gotta fall off. That is crazy.
That looks a bit.
And I've really, really enjoyed having that. But even walking along our streets here, they've left huge trees. And again, within these trees are more ecosystems than you can imagine. And something is in bloom all the time. There's little pocket parks near us where we live that has some beautiful trees as well. And then you have to talk about even within buildings. Some of the buildings around here are fascinating in that they have these trees growing out of them. I mean, the plants, the coverage, there's a couple hotels that have it. They're actually encouraging buildings to incorporate as much greenery as they can, and they get, of course, a tax incentive or some type of monetary incentive. And then just as you kind of move anywhere, you know, there's constantly these big, large parks. So, and walkways, not walkways, walking paths and biking paths and connecting of these parks. And it's just been amazing to me at what a difference it makes a city feel by having that much greenery. And again, a very highly populated city. The next thing is the difference in the plants here. So because I come from North America and, you know, I was a gardener back then as well, the plants that you see here growing naturally or being placed, but growing on their own, so many of those are ones that I've only ever known as house plants. So small. The same plant that I knew was in homes and that I'd been seeing at Home Depot even to buy and at grocery stores to buy, they're bigger than me. They have leaves that are just amazing. One of them is the philodendron, how it grows up these trees. And the leaves start out normal size, like what I'm used to seeing down at the bottom. And then as it keeps growing and growing to the top of these huge trees, as it goes up higher, those leaves get bigger and bigger. There's leaves of philodendrons up there that I look at, and they're the size of almost my body. I mean, they're almost 5 feet in length. I'm gushing as you can tell. But there's just so many plants here that you see in a totally different light because, of course, this is where they're from. This is their climate. This is what they're devised for. So it's been great to experience and see a plant that I'm used to seeing very small in a much larger natural growing habitat. And there's so many parks for us to walk through, and Simon and I have, and every time I go, I'm just picture after picture. And I have so many of those that I just wanted to make a video specifically talking about the floral and fauna and some of the things that we've seen along the way. There are so many parks to go to, and whether it be a small little, what I would call a pocket park, or a very large one like the Bucatima Reserve, or even how they connect. And then of course you have along the seafront, along the straits there, you have the East Coast Park, which is yet, you know, a different kind of group of plants and how they grow. We will continue to explore, and you will continue to see greenery in all of my pictures, but it's been such a key element to making Singapore feel different than other major cities that I've ever lived in, and give you a sense of it's just not so crowded, whether it's plants blocking views of people on the other side or it's just having that greenery. And I do really believe it helps, maybe mentally, but also probably actually physically, by seeing all this green, by having all this shade, dappled shade, beautiful shade, lighting coming through all of these beautiful trees and stuff, that it gives a sense that the place is cooler than it would be typically. Now, we still have our humid days and it does get hot here. But I think for me, it's also been contributing to the fact that I don't mind that there's not seasons. I haven't missed seasons knowingly, if that makes sense. Like, I know that in October I should be wearing a sweater and drinking hot beverages and being cozy up. And I do miss, you know, the sound of a crackling fireplace and it raining outside with that happening. But I get my cozy when the rain's coming. When the, you know, and the sun is covered by clouds and it's kind of a dark day, I get that cozy feeling, and immediately, I mean, I'll even make some soup or go buy some soup to eat. I mean, it's not temperature changing, but just the overall dare I say it, vibe changes. That's, oh, that word. The word of the year everywhere. So really and truly, that's why I think that if you're thinking of moving to Singapore, understand that yes, it's a crowded city because it is a city with high population, but there are ways to get out. And yes, when you go hiking, and we'll use that term hiking, if you go walking through these places, now there is some hiking, but I do more of a walking thing. You will meet up with more people than maybe you would if you were out, walking the Appalachian Trail. But the greenery and what you're going to see, not to mention also the animals that you're going to encounter along the way, is really interesting that can be done in such a busy, populated, and small country. But yet, this was determined years and years ago. Singapore made a conscious effort to make sure and keep greenery at the forefront. This is not just now we're into sustainability and environmental and all this. It was something back at the early developments. Remember, Singapore does everything 30 years in advance. They're always planning 30 years ahead. And from the very beginning of Singapore, once it became its country, that was one of the mandates, is that they keep this greenery. I have to say, with traveling to a couple other big Asian cities, that maybe greenery was not their top priority in planning, I can feel the difference and I miss it. And when we land back at Changi and we do our drive and we come out and you start seeing those trees, it's very soothing. So no, I will admit, green and floral and fauna is one of my favorite things. And I'm a little bit biased because of that, but I really think it's a huge part of Singapore that makes it unique. Here, they've incorporated it throughout the city, and also now encouraging that even within buildings at high levels. And so very fascinating. So if you have been to Singapore, let me know if you noticed that and if you enjoyed it. If you are thinking of coming to Singapore, just know that's something to kind of note, and maybe when choosing where you live, that might be of importance. I know where we live, we have so much greenery around us, even just down a major road, that it really makes a difference for me. So just a thought, but it is something very unique, I think, to Singapore. If it's not, let me know. Let me know what your big cities are like and if they have something similar to this. But pretty impressive. Bravo, Singapore. Thanks for checking in to see what we're doing beyond the nest. Bye.